to sell per unit time. Supply is the
thầy cho em hỏi chút ạ. Thầy gửi lại cho em cái
service a firm wants to sell and is able to sell per unit time. And supply is the quantity of a good or service that sellers wish to sell at each conceivable price. Supply is not a particular quantity, but a complete description of the quantity that sellers would like to sell at each and every possible price. Okay, so supply is a function because it is not a particular quantity, but complete descriptions of the quantity that sellers would like to sell at each and every possible price. That means quantity supply is depend on the price of the good. Okay, and supply is a function. It's function. When we say about the supply and quantity. Now another definition is quantity supplied. Quantity supplied. Quantity supplies, that means the lượng cung. Okay, supply is a function, but the quantity supply is amount of a good. Amount of a good or service that producers wish to produce and sells at a given price. That means if we have a given price, we can determine the quantity supplies. Okay, if we have a given price of good, we can determine the quantity supplied. Okay, so we have a question here. What is the difference between supplies and quantity supplies? Okay, they are different. The supply is the function. Supply is function because supply is a quantity of good the seller want to sell at each price of goods. But quantity supplies is a quantity of good as a good or service the sellers want to sell at a given price. Okay, so they're different. The quantity supply is only quantities, particular quantities, but the supply is a function. Okay, they're different. It's like the demand function and demand supply, demand function and the quantity demanded. Now we study the model of supplies. Model of supplies. In this model, the model of supplies express the relationships between the quantity supplied and the some factors, several factors affecting on the supplies. And in this model, the dependent variable is the amount supplies. The dependent variable is the amount supplies. And the independent variable includes the price of the goods. Okay, the price of the goods. And the second variables that the price of inputs used in its production. Price of inputs used in its productions. And the third variable is the technologies of production. And the last variable is a tax and subsidize. Okay, tax and subsidize. So we can say that there are four the independent variables of the models of the supplies. First, the price of the good. That means giá của hàng hóa mà chúng ta đang xem xét, nghiên cứu. And the second variable is the price of inputs used in its production. Giá cả của các cái đầu vào được dùng để sản xuất ra cái hàng hóa đó. And the third variable is the technologies of production. That means công nghệ để sản xuất ra cái hàng hóa đó. And the last one is tax and subsidized. That means thuế and trợ cấp của chính phủ. Okay, there are four independent variables of the supply model. And now we study the relationships between the dependent variable and independent variable is the model. Okay, another way we can express the supply function here, or a supply model here, that is the supply function. Here is the supply function for a cost. For example, the good is tacos. Okay, so we have the function here. So it's another way to express to show the supply model. And QS is QS equal S of P tacos, P taco shells, P lettuce, and P labors, and P tomatoes, and so on. Technologies and tax and subsidized. Okay, now QS is quantity supplies of tacos. Okay, and quantity supplies of tacos, it depend on the price of inputs, such as the price of tacos. The quantity of quantity supplies of tacos depend on the first price of tacos and the price of input, such as the tacos, price of taco shells, price of lettuce, and price of labors, and price of tomatoes, and so on, and the technology and tax and subsidized. Okay, and here is this way we show the supply model. Okay, it's a function, supply function. Okay, now we study the supply curves. We can draw the supply curves like the demand curve. We study what is the supply curve? The supply curve for any good shows the quantity supplies at each price, holding constant all other determinants of supplies. Okay, that means when we hold the price of inputs, technologies, and tax and subsidized, we only consider the influence of the price of goods on the supplies. Okay, we can draw the supply curve. Okay, and in these situations, the supply model is simpler. That means in this model, the dependent variable is the quantity supplies, and there is only one independent variable, is the goods own price. Okay, and we can show supply curve later. And now the law of supplies. The law of supplies. The law of supplies, that means luật cung. Okay, we have the laws of demand, and now we have the laws of supplies. Luật cầu, and now we are luật cung. The laws of supply say that an increase in goods or price when results in an increase in the amount supplies, holding constant all the other determinants of supplies. Okay, so we can see that the law of supply says that supply curves are positively sloped. Okay, now look at here. Well, here is the supply curve. Suppose that we study the tacos market, and the price of tacos, is based on the vertical axis, and the quantity supplies is based on the horizontal axis. Okay. Yes. And now here, the curves is the supply curve. We can denote it as the S supply curves. The supply curve means that when we pick a price such as P0, okay? When pick a price such as P0, and the supply curve shows how much is supplied here, how much is supplied. Okay, Q0. If the market price is P0, the quantity supplied is Q0, okay? And if the price of tacos rise, how is the supply curves affected? Okay, how is the supply curve affected? We can see here. Here is supply quantity supplies at the market price of P0. Okay, now if the supply the price of tacos increase, the price of tacos increase, you can see that the quantity supplies increase too. Okay, increase too. So the slopes of supply curve is positive. Slope of supply curves positive, because the seller want to sell more when the price higher. Okay, the seller want to sell more when the market price is higher. Okay? At a higher price, firms want to sell more. Now, we also have an important point here. When drawing supply curves, notice that the axis reserves from the usual conventions of putting the dependent y variable on the vertical axis and the independent x variable on the horizontal axis. Okay, it looks like the demand curve that we have studied. Okay, usually when we show the graphs of mathematical model, usually when we show the graphs of mathematical model, the dependent variable usually puts on the vertical axis, okay, on the vertical axis, and the independent variable puts on the horizontal axis. But here, the demand model and the supply model, when we show the demand curve and supply curves, we use reserves, the reserved way to show the graph. Okay, dependent variable is present on the horizontal axis, and the independent variable is on the vertical axis. Okay, that is the okay. Now we study the influence of each independent variables effect on the amount supplies. Yeah. How does other factors affect on the supplies? The question here is how to show the effect of change in input price, change in technologies, and change in tax. Okay. Now, change in input price. How does the supply? How does supplies change? How does supply change when the input price changes? Okay, we consider the supply of beer. You consider the supply of beer, and suppose that the price of hops, the gross input to beer, falls. Beer firms now find that beer production is more profitable than it was before, and they respond to this by increasing the supplies of beer. Okay, because here the price of hop falls from 300 per ton to 100 per ton. Okay, here this is the supply curve, the supply curve for beer. And here we study the beer market, and here's the supply curve for beer. The question here is how will this affect the supply curve for beer? That means here's the supply curve for beer with the hop price of $300 per ton. Here in hops is the crucial input of beer production. Hops is the crucial inputs of beer production. Okay, and when the price of hop is $300 per ton, so we can draw the supply curve for beer here. Okay, and now the question is how does the supply of beer change when the price of hop fall from $300 per ton to $100 per ton? Okay. You can see very easy to understand. Is the change in supplies. Beer firms want to sell more beer at each price of beer. Okay, because when the price of hops fall, that means the production cost of beer production decrease. Okay, decrease. If the market price of beer is unchanged, the profits of beer production increase. Okay, the profits of beer production increase, so the firm want to produce and sell more beer. Okay, so at every price of beer, the beer firm want to sell more, produce and sell more. So the supply curve shift to the right. The supply curve shift to the right. Okay. And now we study the change in technology, change in technologies. So improvements in technology makes it possible to produce levels of outputs with fewer inputs than before. Okay, and improvements in technology market make it possible to produce levels of outputs with fewer inputs than before. Because this lowers the cost of production, profits rise, and firms will try to supply more. Okay. Here, suppose beer technology improves. We can draw the supply curve for beer with the old technology here. And now there is an advancements on the technologies to produce beer. And the question here is how does this affect the supply curve for beers? And right here, okay, there is an increase in supplies. Means the supply curve shift to the right. Okay, and the technologies improves. The firm can produce with a lower input. Okay, the firm can produce beers with a lower input, so the profits increase. The profit increased. Okay, and at every price of beer on the market, the firm would like to produce and sell more beer. Okay, so the supply curve shift to the right. Shift to the right. And now the last independent variable effect on the supplies. How would you suspect an excise tax affects the supplies of a goods? Okay, how would you suspect an excise tax affects the supplies of a goods? We consider the effect of tax on the supplies. For example, here is supply curves with no tax. Supply curve with no tax. Okay, and here, if the government impose an excise tax on the goods, if the government impose an excise tax on the goods, okay, the supply curve shift to the left. Okay, here's the supply excise tax. Here vertical gaps. So we can see that with every at its market price, the quantity supplies decreased. Okay, decreased. So the supply curves shift to the left. You can see this distance. The distance is the amount of the excise tax per unit of a good. Okay. Now we have a supply summary. Supply is a function of price, input price, and technology. And Supply curves shows supplies as a functions of our price, all else constant, and change in a goods or price show up as movements along supply curves. Change in input price, technologies, or tasks shows up as shifts in the supply curves. So, in the supply model, we have the dependent variable is the supply quantity supplies, and for independent variable, the first independent variable is the price of goods, and the second independent variable is the price of inputs, and the third independent variable is the technology, and the fourth independent variable is tax. Okay, when we hold the price of inputs, technology, and tax constant, we have models of supplies, so we can show the supply curves. Okay, we can show supply curves, and when the price of goods change, we move along to supplies. Move when the price of good change, it show up as movements along the supply curve. That means when the price increase, the quantity supplies increase. When the price of good decrease, the quantity supplies decrease. Okay, so when the price of good change, it makes movements along the supply curves. Okay, and when we hold the price of good constant, we consider the change in input price, technologies, and tax. Okay, it show up at the shifts in the supply curve. That means all supply curve shift to the left or shift to the right. Okay, that is the supply model. Okay, after study the demand model and supply models, and now we study the markets. How does the market response? Okay, how does market response on the and the change in demand and change in supplies? Okay, the market's response on the market price determinations in markets. Okay, the market price is very important. It makes the change in the supplies and demand, and it makes the change in the markets. Okay, now we study the price determinants in the markets. You can see that the market demand curve shows the amounts demanded at every price, and the market supply curves shows the amount supplies at every price. So we have the question: The question now is whether there is some price at which quantity supplies and the demanded are the same. Okay. And the answer is yes. Yes. Now, it is the equilibrium price. It is an equilibrium price. So we study the equilibrium price definitions here. Equilibrium price, that means giá cân bằng. Okay, giá cân bằng. Equilibrium price, giá cân bằng. The equilibrium price of a good is a price at which quantity supplies equals quantity demanded. Okay? A price at which excess demand equals zero. Okay. The price at which quantity supply equals quantity demanded. That is the equilibrium price. The price at which excess demand equals zero. A price at which excess demand equals zero. That means the dư cầu là bằng không. Tức là giá tại cái điểm mà cái lượng dư cầu là bằng không thì đây là giá cân bằng. Hay hoặc là giá mà tại cái điểm đó mà lượng cung ngang bằng với lượng cầu thì người ta gọi đấy là giá cân bằng. Ok. And at the equilibrium price there is no tại cái điểm tại cái giá cân bằng đó thì thị trường là không có cái xu hướng là thay đổi về giá. Okay. Now we have some words here. First, excess demand. Excess demand, that means dư cầu. Excess demand, dư cầu. Excess demand exists when at the current price the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied. The quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. Okay, so at the current price, if the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied, we say that there is an excess demand on the market. Okay, now excess supplies, dư cung. So means dư cung, excess supplies. Excess supplies exists when at the current price the quantity supplied is greater than the quantity demanded. Okay, the quantity supply is greater than the quantity demanded. That means at the current price, if the quantity supply is greater than the quantity demanded, we say that there is an excess supplies on the market. And look at here. First of all, excess supply is QS minus QD. Okay, here's the market for a cost, and here here's the demand curve. Okay, the curve with negative slope is the demand curve, and here's the supply curve. The curve with the positive slope. Okay, and with this on this markets, if at the market price of $3, we can see there is an excess supplies, because at the price of $3, okay, the quantity demand is here. Only QD is very small, okay, very small. But there is a large quantity supplied here, okay, because the price is very high, so the seller want to sell more, Okay, the QS is larger than QD, so there is an excess supply on the market of tacos, okay. Yeah, excess supplies. Now, excess demand here. Okay, in this situation, you can see that if the market price is $1, okay, it's very low. The price per market is very low. So as a demand here, the quantity that the buyer want to buy is QD is very large. Okay, it's large, but because low price, so the sellers want to sell less. Okay, the quantity supply here is very small. It's less than is smaller than the quantity demand. Okay, so there is an excess demand. There is an excess demand on the markets of tacos here. And we can see that when there is an excess demand for a good, when there is an excess demand for a good, price will tend to rise. And when there is an excess supply of a goods, price will tend to fall. Okay, now when there's an excess demand on the market, okay, the quantity demanded is larger than the quantity supplies. Okay, so the price tend to rise. The price tend to rise. Okay, but if there is an excess supplies, the quantity supply is larger than the quantity of demand. Okay, so the market price tend to fall. Okay, and when excess demand equal to zero, when excess demand equals zero, the price must be the equilibrium price, and we say the market is in equilibrium. That is the equilibrium point. Equilibrium point. At the equilibrium point, the we have the equilibrium price, and the excess demand equals zeros. Okay, if you want to find out the price at which a market is in equilibrium, then looks for the price where the excess demand is zero. That is definitions of equilibrium point on the market. Economists are instructed in the explaining equilibrium price, and in particular, they are instructed to explain why equilibrium price change. Here, look at some model we study now. First of all, we study the taco markets. The taco markets here. We have the question here. Here's the tacos of market, the tacos markets, and here's the demand curve And here is the supply curve. We have the question, what is the equilibrium price in the market for tacos? It's on the diagram. And what is the equilibrium quantity of tacos? Okay, now okay, the the points across between the supply curves and demand curve is the equilibrium point. Here is the equilibrium point, and from this point we determine the equilibrium price here. Equilibrium price here. And from this point, we can determine the equilibrium quantity here. Okay. So, and the equilibrium price we show as a PE, and the equilibrium quantity is the QE. Okay. That is the market for tacos is in equilibrium at the price of $2 per tacos. Okay. Now we have another question. How can the price of tacos change? How can the price of tacos change? Only if there is a change in supplies, or if there is a change in demands. Okay. But remember, we already know the list of reasons why supplies and demand can change. Okay. And now we study some more. You change in demand. Okay. Remember what makes a change in demand and what makes it in the supplies. Okay. Now for the demand, when we hold the price of goods constant, okay, the factors make the change in demand, makes the demand curve shift to the left or shift to the right. We have some factors such as the incomes of, okay, the income of consumers. The first, the incomes of consumers. Okay. The second is the price of related goods. Okay. Price of related goods. And the third is a test of preference of consumer. Okay. Thus, there are three factors influence on the demand when we hold the market price constant. Okay. And now on the supply side, remember that the first factor is the price of input. Okay, price of input. And the second factor is the technology. And the third factor is the tax and subsidized from the government. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That is the factors influence on the demand of change in consumer incomes, change in the price of substitutes, change in the price of complements, and change in tax. And here the factors influence on the supply curve, change in price of inputs, change in technologies, and change in tax. And now we study some more to show this. Okay. The following is the series of sample problems showing change in the equilibrium price of some goods. The first model, we studied the models of community college market. Okay, the market of community college. The class at the community college are an inferior goods. An inferior good, okay, hàng thứ cấp, okay, inferior goods, hàng thứ cấp. People's incomes fall, perhaps due to recessions. What is the effect on tuition and enrollments? Okay, here's the markets is the market for class at the community college, and suppose that the tuition is a P0, and the enrollment is a Q0, and here is the equilibrium points of the markets. Okay, here's the demand curve and here's supply curves, and this situation consistent with the high incomes. That means we have drawn the demand curve for with high incomes. Okay, and now suppose that the incomes of people falls. So you consider change in the market. How that change the markets? Okay. Okay. Now, because class as a college inferior, because the class as a college inferior, a decrease in incomes cause demand to increase. Okay, this creates an excess demand and price tend to rise. Because here is the inferior goods. So when the income decrease, the consumer want to consume more. Okay, so the demand increase, and the demand curve shift to the right, and the equilibrium point change. Yeah, when the supply curve shift to the right, there is an excess. There is an excess demand. Okay, there is an excess demand. So the price increased. Yeah. Okay, we have a new equilibrium point here. Okay, we have the new equilibrium point here with the higher price and higher quantities. Okay, higher price and higher quantities. That's the response of markets for the inferior goods. Now, the market for apartments in Hanoi. The market for apartment in Hanoi is in equilibrium, and the price of dorm rooms rise. With the effect on the market for apartment in Hanoi. Chúng ta tạm nghỉ 10 phút nhé.
Vâng ạ. Dạ vâng thầy ạ.
Dạ là 10 phút. And now we study the market for apartments. The market for apartment in Hanoi is in equilibrium. Here, okay. The equilibrium with price P0 and the quantity Q0. And the price of dorm rooms, when the price of dorm room rise, what is the effect on the market for apartments in Hanoi? Okay, the market, the dorm rooms, the dorm room is the substitutes of the apartments. Okay, the dorm room is the substitutes of apartments. Okay, when the price of substitutes, the price of substitute increased, the price substitute increased, the price of substitute increased, the demand for apartments decreased. Okay, we remember the substitutes. So look at here. Here's the demand curve. The demand curve for apartments with the old dorm room price, and now the dorm room price increase. What happens? You can see that when the price of dorm room increase, the demand for apartment increase. Okay, so the demand curve shift to the right. So the demand curve shift to the right, and you have a new equilibrium here. New equilibrium here. Okay, because when the price of dorm room increase, the demand for apartment increase. So there is an excess demand on the market, and the demand curve shift to the rise, and as a result, we have a new equilibrium with the higher price and higher quantities. Okay, just change in the price of substitutes. And now another model. So we study the markets of naturals, markets of naturals, and beer, naturals and beer are complements. The price of beer rise. What is the effect on the market for naturals? Complements, okay? And here's a market for naturals, and here's the demand curve, for naturals. The demand curve for naturals with the old beer price, and here is equilibrium of markets. So because naturals and beer are complements, the price of beer rise. As a result, the demand for nature falls. Okay. Okay. With the old beer price. Okay. When the beer price full, the demand for beer decrease. Okay. The demand for beer decrease because beers and natures are complements. So when the demand for beer decrease, the demand for natures decrease too. Okay. So there is an excess supplies. There is an excess supplies on the market of natures. Okay. So the demand curve. So the demand curve for natures shift to the left. And we have the new equilibrium here. Okay. We have the new equilibrium here with the lower price and lower quantities of natures. Okay. That is the influence of the complements. Okay, now another model. We consider the test of consumer. People comes to believe that eating apples is good for them. Eating apple is good for them. The more apples they eat, the more likely they are to stay well. Okay, that is what is the effect on the market for apples? Here's the apple markets. There is a change in the preference that affects the demand. Here's the process. Now the people believe that the apple is very good for health because the people believe that the apple is good for health, so they would like to consume more. They like to consume more apples, and then the demand curve shift to the right. Okay? So we have the new equilibrium here. So with the higher price and higher quantities of apple, it's a change in the preference or taste. Okay. Now we study another models. The models of markets of class at the universities. Okay. Class at universities are produced using faculty labor service. and other inputs like buildings and computers. The faculty salaries increased by 10%. What is the effect on tuition and enrollments at universities? Here's a market for class at universities. Okay, and here's equilibrium, and this demand curves and supply curve. The salaries and labor surveys and buildings and computers and papers and so on. They are inputs. Okay, they are inputs for activities of the universities. Okay, and when the price of inputs increase, when the price of inputs increase, and here is the faculty salaries increase by 10%. What is the effect? What is the effect on tuitions and enrollments? Okay, that's a question we have to answer. Now look at here. Because the labor salaries increase, that means the price of inputs increase. The price of input increase. So the profits of universities decrease. Then universities want to sell fewer enrollment places at the higher levels of faculty salaries. Okay, the change supplies. You can see that the supply curve shift to the right, because when the price of inputs increase, the supply curves shift to the left. Okay, and so here we can see that there is an excess demands. Okay, because supply decrease, so there is an excess demand on the market. Okay, excess demand on the market, so it makes the price increase. We have a new equilibrium. We have a new equilibrium with the high price but lower quantities. Okay, high price but lower quantities. Okay, now we study another models of technologies. For example, agriculture and scientists develops a new trends. Agriculture scientists develops a new strains of corn. New strains of corn that increase yields by about 15%. What is the effect? What is the effect of the improvements in technologies on the market for corns? Here's the market for corns. Okay, corn markets, and we have equilibrium here. But now there is an improvements in technologies of corn production. Okay, it makes the yields of corns increase by about 15%. What is the effect of the? Okay, here we remember that when there is an improvements in technologies, there is an improvements on in technologies. Okay, so the producer uses less inputs than the before. Okay, that's before. Okay, so because they use less inputs, so they can make the higher profits. They can make the high profits. Okay, so the producer want to produce and sells more. Okay, so you can see that the supply curve shift to the right, shift to the right. The supply curve shift to the right. Okay, and because the supplies increase, because supply increase, and then there is an excess supplies. There is an excess supplies. Because there is an excess supplies, and the price can decrease. Okay, the price can decrease. We have a new equilibrium here, a new equilibrium with the lower price and higher quantities. Higher quantities. And now, this model, we consider the effect of the incomes on the market price of medical care. Medical care. Here's the medical care market. Medical care markets with the supply curve and demand curve here, and we have the equilibrium here. Equilibrium here with the P0 and Q0. Okay, and now the consumers' incomes increase. The consumers' income increase, and what is the factor on the market price? Now, it depends on the medical care. Is the nominal or inferior goods, okay? It depends on the kinds of good. Is a normal or inferior. So here we suppose that. So here we suppose that the medical care is a normal good. If the medical care is a normal good, when the incomes of the consumer increase, the consumer want buy more. Okay, the consumer want buy more. So there is an excess demand. Okay, so excess demand, and because the excess demand and the price of medical care is the tend to increase. Yeah. Okay. When the income of the consumer increase, they want to buy more. That means the demand for medical care increase. But we can see that the demand curves shift to the left, and there is an excess demand. Okay, so because there is an excess demand, so the market price tend to rise, and we have the new equilibrium. Yeah, the new equilibrium with a higher price and higher quantities. Okay. As if the medical care is normal goods. Normal goods. Okay. So here we have some supply and demand summary here. After studying demand model and supply model, and after study some models of markets, the change in the market price. Okay, we have some summary here. First, the market price serves as the adjustment mechanism to move markets to equilibrium. Okay. Như vậy chúng ta thấy là giá thị trường là sẽ điều tiết, nó là một cái cơ chế điều tiết thị trường thay đổi, làm cho cái điểm cân bằng của thị trường thay đổi. Price change in response to the existence of excess demand or excess supplies. Ok. Đấy. Giá cả thay đổi là để phản ứng với cái sự dư cung hoặc dư cầu của thị trường. Đấy. Như vậy thì the change in demand and change in supply lead to change in equilibrium price and quantities. Ok. Tức là thay đổi của cầu, thay đổi cung trên thị trường sẽ dẫn đến sự thay đổi về cái điểm cân bằng và giá cân bằng và lượng cân bằng của thị trường. Đây là cái cơ chế vận hành và điều chỉnh của thị trường là như vậy. Đấy. Tức là khi mà có một cái nhân tố gì đó nó tác động, nó làm thay đổi cung hoặc là thay đổi cầu, thì nó sẽ là, tức là khi mà chúng ta thấy là khi mà thị trường đang ở điểm cân bằng, mà nếu xuất hiện một cái nhân tố nào đó làm thay đổi cung hoặc là thay đổi cầu trên thị trường, thì nó sẽ dẫn đến cái tình trạng là dư cung hoặc là dư cầu trên thị trường. Đấy. Mà khi dư cung thì giá thị trường có xu hướng là giảm, còn khi như dư cầu thì giá thị trường có xu hướng là tăng. Hay nói đi là dư cung sẽ làm giảm giá thị trường, dư cầu sẽ làm tăng giá thị trường, và nó điều chỉnh thị trường sang một cái điểm cân bằng mới. Đấy. Cái điểm cân bằng mới này thì có giá cao hơn hay thấp hơn, có giá cân bằng cao hơn hay thấp hơn, và có lượng cân bằng cao hơn hay thấp hơn là tùy thuộc vào từng cái trường hợp cụ thể. Thế còn các cái nhân tố nào mà nó ảnh hưởng làm thay đổi cầu, làm thay đổi cung trên thị trường thì chúng ta đã nghiên cứu ở cái mô hình về cầu, mô hình về cung của thị trường rồi. Ví dụ như là chúng ta nhớ lại là những nhân tố ảnh hưởng làm thay đổi cầu của thị trường thì đó chính là gì? Đó chính là thứ nhất là thu nhập của người tiêu dùng. Thứ hai là giá cả của những hàng hóa có liên quan, đó là hàng hóa thay thế và hàng hóa bổ trợ. Đó. Và nhân tố thứ ba đó là sở thích của người tiêu dùng. Đó. The first là income of consumer. The second is the price of related goods, includes substitutes and complement goods. And the third is a test or preference of consumer. Okay. Thế còn về phía cung thì các nhân tố tác động ảnh hưởng làm thay đổi cung cũng gồm có 3 nhóm nhân tố. Thứ nhất là giá của các yếu tố đầu vào, input price. Ok. giá của cái yếu tố đầu vào cho sản xuất, input price. Thứ hai là công nghệ sản xuất, technologies. And thứ ba là thuế và trợ cấp của chính phủ, tax and subsidies. Đấy. Như vậy tóm lại cho đến đây là chúng ta đã nắm tương đối tốt và hiểu được cái thị trường, hiểu được cung, được cầu và cái sự điều chỉnh thị trường khi mà thay đổi cung, thay đổi cầu như thế nào rồi. Và cái này nó là cái kiến thức nền cơ bản để chúng ta hiểu về vấn đề kinh tế thị trường. Ok. Okay, now do you have any discussions about the contents we study?
Yes.
Any question?
Yes. I don't have any questions.
No question?
Yes.
Okay, if you don't have any questions, so we need to study the next part. Now, after studies about the markets, now we studied about the production decisions. We study the firms. That means concentrates on the study the supply side of the markets. Okay, the firm's cost and production. The firm's cost and production decisions. There are some contents we will study. Here is the factors of productions and revenues, costs, and profits. So here is some definitions to understand the firms and economic costs and economic profits and cost analysis. And the last one we study the production decisions in the competitive markets. That is the contents we study on the firm productions. Okay. Now, first, we study factors of productions. Okay, for firms, when in order to produce a product, you can see that the firm have to use one inputs. There are many inputs. For the firms used to produce products. Okay, here his factors productions. That means inputs for production here. First is capital. The capital is a factor is very important to every firms. Okay, the capital includes the financial capital for such as the money. Okay, the money used to start ups or maintains a business. Okay, it's the financial capital and the physical capital, such as capital goods Okay, so machines, equipments, office buildings, and so on. Okay, the capital is any assets. Capital is any assets includes financial or physical assets capable of generating incomes. Okay, so every asset the firm used to generate incomes is a capital of the firms. Okay, the capital is the firms includes the financial capital and physical capital. Okay, that is the capital. The second factors for production of the production is the labors. Okay, this labor is very important for every firms. They have to use labor to produce products. Labors very important. And the third factor is materials. Okay, in order to produce products, we have to use materials, raw materials, and very kinds of materials to be used. Okay, and the fourth factor is land. The land's natural resource is one kind of resource very important to make the squares. Okay, and the fifth is management. Okay, the entrepreneurships or management. You're taking measurement risks and identifying opportunities and undertaking investments. Okay, it's a management board of the firm. So there is 5 groups of factors influence on the productions of the firm. And now here we study some groceries using the economics. Revenues, costs, and profits. What is the revenues? The firm's revenue is the amount it earns by selling goods or service in a given period, such as years. Okay, it's a revenue. It's the amount it earns by selling goods or service in a given period, such as a year. That means revenue is the money. Revenue is the money the firm earns by selling goods or service in a given period, such as a year. That is the revenue. When we say revenues, we would like to say that's the amount of money the firm earns in a given period, and such as a year is a very regular. Okay. Cost. Okay, what is the cost of firm? The firm's cost are the expenses incurred in producing goods or service during the period. Okay, during the it's a cost. We also call the cost of the firm is a production cost. Production cost or total cost. Production cost or total cost. Production costs or total costs are the expenses incurred in producing goods or service during a period. Okay, so the difference between the revenue and the cost, the difference between the revenues and the cost during a period is a profit. Profits are the excess of revenues over cost. Okay, so we have the formula here. Profits equal revenues minus cost during a period. For example, during a year. So we would like to, if we would like to calculate the profits a year for a company. We subtract the production cost of company of that years from the revenues. Okay, revenue of that years. It's a very important, very simple to understand. Okay, that's the revenues, cost, and profits. Now, to understand the decision-making process of the economics, we have to understand the economic cost and economic profits. Okay, it's a very important to understand the decision-makings. Now, economists and accountants do not always take the same views of cost and profit. Do not always take the same views of cost and profits. The accountants are chiefly interested in describing the actual receipts and payments of a company. But the economists are chiefly interested in the roles of cost and profits as determinants of the firm's supply decisions, the allocations of resources to particular activities. Okay, it's a very important. The different viewpoints, between economists and accountants is very important. Okay. Đây là một cái sự khác biệt rất quan trọng giữa cái quan điểm của nhà kế toán với quan điểm của nhà kinh tế. Nhà kế toán thì chỉ quan tâm đến vấn đề thu chi thực tế của một hãng, thu chi thực sự của một hãng dựa trên hóa đơn chứng từ. Và mục tiêu của nhà kế toán là chỉ để hạch toán thu chi một cách minh bạch. Thế thôi. Nhưng nhà kinh tế thì lại khác. Nhà kinh tế họ quan tâm chủ yếu đến vai trò của chi phí, vai trò của doanh thu, vai trò của chi phí, vai trò của lợi nhuận. Nó là như nhân tố được sử dụng để đưa ra các cái quyết định về sản xuất của hãng, rồi đưa ra các quyết định về vấn đề phân bố nguồn lực cho các hoạt động cụ thể của hãng. Đấy. Cho nên là nhà kinh tế quan tâm đến chi phí, quan tâm đến lợi nhuận để đưa ra quyết định. Còn nhà kế toán thì quan tâm đến chi phí và lợi nhuận để hạch toán minh bạch rõ ràng. Hai cái đối tượng này là rất khác nhau về quan điểm khi nhìn nhận về doanh thu, về chi phí, về lợi nhuận, đặc biệt là chi phí và lợi nhuận. Vì vậy cho nên chúng ta cần phải hiểu biết và phân biệt được giữa chi phí kinh tế với chi phí kế toán là khác nhau thế nào, lợi nhuận kinh tế và lợi nhuận kế toán là khác nhau như thế nào. Đấy là cái phần này là phần mà người ta muốn nói như thế. Đấy. Okay. In order to understand the economic cost, economic costs and economic profits, we study a simple example here. Now, in the previous example of the house to be intended to open a shop. Okay, do you remember we have an examples of a house. Suppose that I have a house in the good locations, at the good locations, and I intend to use how to open the shop. Okay, you open the shops, and from the project, I have the calculation here. For example, suppose that the revenue from the shop, for a month is $40,000. Okay, the $40,000, and the operating cost is $25,000. Okay, and suppose that if I do not use how to open the shops, I can rent. I can rent how to get the rent earning of $20,000. Okay, so I have the opportunity cost of $20,000. Okay, so from this numbers I can calculate here the accounting cost. The accounting cost is $25,000. That means it's the operating cost here $25,000. But when I calculate the economic cost here, economic cost includes accounting cost of $25,000 and the opportunity cost of $20,000. Okay, I have the economics cost of $45,000. Okay, from the accounting cost and the economic cost, you can see that the difference between the accounting cost and economic cost is that when we calculate the economic cost, we have to take account the opportunity cost. Okay. Now, from the accounting cost and economic cost, I have two kinds of profit. The first is the accounting profit. Accounting profit is revenue minus operating cost. That means we take the revenues minus the accounting cost. Okay, that's 40,000 minus 25,000. We get $15,000. Okay, so if I use how to open the shops, I will get the profit of $15,000 a month. Here is the accounting profit. Okay, accounting profit. But if we use economics viewpoints, we calculate the economic profit. Economics profit is revenue minus economic cost. Now 40,000 minus 45,000, we get minus 5,000. Now in this case, we can see that the economic profit is negative values. Okay, it's negative values. So the question here is okay, do we use how to open the shop? Do we use how to open the shop? And the answer is not. No. Okay, that's do not open the shop. We should not open the shop even if the normal profit is positive. Okay, even if the normal profit is positive, normal profit is 15,000. Normal profit, that means accounting profit. Even if the accounting profit is $15,000, is the positive values, but we should not open the shop because the economic profit is negative values. Okay, so when we want to make the decision, when we want to make the decision to open a shop or to produce another goods, we have to use economic profit, do not use accounting profit to make decision. Okay, that is the rules of economic profits. Okay, now we have a conclusion here. We should base our decision. We should base our decision on economic profits and verify by accountants. This conclusion is very important to make decisions on investments. Very important to make decisions on investment. The rule for investment decision is we invest when economic profits larger than or equal to zero. Okay, we only invest when economic profits is larger than or equal to zero. If the economic profit is larger than zero, then we have the exit profit. Exit profit in this case, that means siêu lợi nhuận. Ok, nếu như lợi nhuận kinh tế lớn không, tức là đây là tình huống chúng ta có siêu lợi nhuận. Ok, if economic profits equal to zero, so we have the normal profits or we have the accounting profits. Ok, tức là nếu như lợi nhuận kinh tế mà không, tức là người sản xuất đã có lợi nhuận thông thường. Okay, that's why we if the economic profit is less than zero, we do not invest. That means we do not have the normal profit. Okay, so that's why we say that we only invest when the economic profits larger than or equal to zero. Okay, or we only invest when we have the exit profits or normal profits. Okay, when we do not have a normal profits, that means profit is less than normal profits, we do not invest. Here's a very important principle. Okay. Okay, that's some contents we have to understand before we study engineering economics. Okay. So today we stop here. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, goodbye.
Yes, goodbye. See you later.
Goodbye. See you later.